Hello and welcome to Quick Charge. I'm Mikey G, and it's Thursday, January 25th. Tesla's stock crashed by as much as 10% this morning. The quarterly and year-end report probably wasn't received as positive as we would hope, and it stands to reason that considering Tesla anticipates slow growth for the year of 2024, that's probably the bulk of it. But as a brief recap, Tesla's automotive business barely missed the mark on Wall Street expectations, while solar and energy did especially well. Other than a hopeful timeline of about 2 years for the next generation platform, the conference call was fairly normal. It is possible that the stock hit was influenced by Elon's response to questions about his request for more voting control at Tesla. Musk didn't address the concern over a conflict of interest with his other AI company, but he did clarify his motives, saying, quote, "My concern would be that I don't want to control it, but if I have so little influence over the company at that stage that I could sort of be voted out by some sort of random shareholder advisory firm." He went on to say, quote, "We've had a lot of challenges with Institutional Shareholder Services, ISS, I call them ISIS and Glass Lewis, which there's a lot of activists that basically infiltrate those organizations and have, strange ideas about what should be done. So, I want to have enough to be influential. Like if we could do a dual class stock, that would be ideal. I'm not looking for additional economics. I just want to be an effective steward of very powerful technology." Elon Musk says that other automakers don't believe Tesla's full self-driving is real, as Tesla tries to sell full self-driving licenses. Back in 2021, Elon Musk said that he had an early discussion with other automakers about licensing the full self-driving technology. But so far, there hasn't been a whole lot of news on that front. When the subject came back around during the shareholders meeting, Musk said, quote, "I really think lots of car companies should be asking for full self-driving licenses, and we've had some tentative conversations, but I don't think they believe it's real quite yet. I think that will become obvious probably this year." Now, while Tesla does have many loyal individual customers and fans who are ready to put money into the future technology, I'm going to guess that the accountants at big automotive companies are a much harder sale, and I'm guessing that small startups simply don't have the money to pay for a license. There is one other thing to remember. It's not that big of a deal. It might come up, but I don't know. Tesla's full self-driving program isn't really done yet, so, there is that. Maybe. Lucid Motors invited Electrek to an exclusive ribbon-cutting ceremony celebrating the opening of Phase 2 of its AMP-1 facility in Casa Grande, Arizona. Part of the festivities included a look at Lucid's upcoming Gravity SUV, which we'll cover here. The interior holds many of the designs from the Air sedan, however the dashboard screen has been moved up above the steering wheel. The front trunk has a fold-out pad for a comfortable lounger seat, and the overall storage room is quite ample. Being one of, if not the most aerodynamic SUVs on the market, the Gravity still has room for a third row and even some space in the trunk. Now, some SUVs advertise a barely usable third row, and others are okay, like the Kia EV9, but the Gravity brings much more. Our next step will be to get behind the wheel of the Lucid Gravity and see what it delivers from a performance standpoint. The opportunity is already in the works, so expect a report on that in the future. And by the way, CEO Peter Rawlinson briefly teased the automaker's third model in the works, a midsize EV that will arrive as a direct competitor to the Tesla Model 3 and Model Y. Although Honda is late to the party, it hopes its new electric SUV can make up for lost time. Honda's first all-electric SUV, the 2024 Prologue, will begin hitting U.S. dealerships in March. Based on GM's Ultium platform, the 2024 Honda Prologue features what Honda is calling the, quote, highest standard driving range rating in its class. This to say that it has up to 296 miles of EPA range. And that is based on the specs of the base model, which I think is kind of the linchpin of their statement, and has a starting price of $48,795 after destination fees. The dual-motor version costs $51,795 with 281 miles of EPA range. It's powered by an 85 kilowatt-hour lithium-ion battery, and Honda didn't share the charge rate, but they do say that it can charge up to 65 miles in around 10 minutes. The all-electric Porsche Macan EV is finally here. Porsche unveiled the sporty electric SUV with sports car performance and more interior space than previous models. The new electric SUV marks the debut of the Audi co-developed 800-volt PPE platform. The electric motors are powered by a 100 kilowatt-hour battery with 95 kilowatt-hours of usable space. The entry-level Porsche Mancan EV cranks out up to 402 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque. It also scored 381 miles of range, but that is using the WLTP cycle, which is a little more generous. Now, meanwhile, the Macan Turbo boasts up to 630 horsepower and 833 pound-feet of torque for a 0 to 62 mile per hour sprint in 3.3 seconds. Michael Maurer, the vice president of Porsche Style, said, quote, "The design makes it clear. The Macan remains the sports car in its segment, even in electric form." Now, in light of this, depending on the model, there's up to 19 cubic feet of cargo capacity and has 3 cubic feet of frunk capacity. The Porsche Macan EV will start at $78,800, while the Turbo has an MSRP of $105,300. And that does not include the $1,650 delivery fee. Gotta have that. The wildly expensive Cadillac Celestiq is on the way. General Motors just announced that they have finally started production at its factory in Michigan, but only for a very limited number. But I think you knew that already. The vehicle has a starting price of $340,000, and only 6 of them will be assembled at any one time. It's made completely to order, and no two vehicles will be alike. Total volume will probably be around 100 to 150 units per year. I didn't think they could sell that many myself, but I don't know the market that well. Now, the specs of the car are really not all that groundbreaking. 200 kilowatts of charging on a 111 kilowatt-hour battery, about 300 miles of range with a 0 to 60 in 3.8 seconds. The real kicker must be the luxury, customization, and prestige. I think that after I pay off my old shooting car, I might consider the Cadillac Celestiq for myself. In today's community comment found on YouTube, in regard to Elon Musk, Carl in San Diego says, "So he lied that cheap car will be built in Germany. He lied that it will be built in Mexico. Now he's lying about how far along they are with it, knowing it is at least 2 to 3 years behind the time they first unveiled a prototype which is nowhere to be seen. Why not call the liar out for lying to investors? He's the king of BS, with insulting statements about unlimited economy because he's building the most sophisticated humanoid robot. Hubris doesn't even begin to describe Elon, and he clearly doesn't have enough forward vision to understand the limits of natural resources." Well, I don't know, Carl in San Diego. I would not go so far as to say that he is lying when a goal simply doesn't happen. I mean, if you want to call him a liar, I'm sure you could dig up something out there. I mean, he has been in the spotlight for a long time, so there's plenty of evidence to comb through if you really want to stick it to him. I don't think that you need to resort to characterizing the unrealized company promises as lies, because it just so happens that Elon is the CEO of a company at the forefront of a new industry and new technology. A big part of his job is to set goals, ones that are seemingly crazy, and then hopefully find a path that they can achieve them. The unrealized expectations come with the territory, and that's really the plight of any major CEO. I don't personally believe that Elon has malice in his heart when he makes surprise announcements. I believe that he genuinely expects these milestones to be reached in the timelines that he sets. Now, whether they can or can't, that's really up to the future to decide and not really our place. But in this context, I think that the brightest way to describe Elon in regards to his goals would be hopeful. I think the worst way would be arrogant. But the truth is that Elon does have the capacity for both, like all of us. He's certainly not perfect, and that's not the threshold for who you should put your money in, is whether they're perfect or not, because there's lots of people who aren't perfect. But I guess what I'm getting at is that I give the guy a lot of